Ted Cruz went on with Tucker Carlson, and as we all know, there's a special reason why Tucker Carlson is so popular, and that's because Tucker Carlson just doesn't hold back. And as Josh just said, he really didn't hold back last night, and it was actually a little bit uncomfortable to watch when I watched it through the first time, because he's literally going like completely ham on Ted Cruz and just not letting him wiggle on it.
He was going ham on him?
Yes.
He was going ham? Okay.
Yeah.
He was going ham on him.
Going ham, yeah. That's my word I'm going to use for today. Anyways, maybe you'll see that he was really going ham on him if we can bring up the clip.
What I was referring to are the limited number of people who engaged in violent attacks against police officers. Now, I think you and I both agree that if you assault a police officer, you should go to jail. That's who I was talking about. And the reason the phrasing was sloppy is I have talked dozens, if not hundreds of times. I've drawn a distinction. I wasn't saying that the thousands of peaceful protesters supporting Donald Trump are somehow terrorists. I wasn't saying the millions of patriots across the country supporting President Trump are terrorists, and that's what a lot of people have misunderstood that comment.
Wait a second, but hold on. What you just said doesn't make sense. So if somebody assaults a cop, he should be charged and go to jail. I couldn't agree more. We've said that for years. But that person's still not a terrorist. How many people have been charged with terrorism on January 6th? Like, why'd you use that word? You're playing into the other side's characterization that, as Joe Kent just explained, allows them to define an entire population as foreign combatants. And you know that. So why'd you do it?
So, yeah, that was just a little tiny clip of that whole segment, but it just got really bad. And one of the things that he brought up that I actually had no idea about was that Ted Cruz had been, considered as a sitting member of the United States Supreme Court. And so I guess I just kind of want to ask you guys, do you agree with Tucker that this was an intentional thing that Ted Cruz said and that he should be held accountable for it?
Yeah, I think I do. And I don't understand why he would even try to backtrack like that. Well, I do understand why, because I don't understand the way that he backtracked, because like Tucker said, it doesn't make any
badly,
sense. Yeah.
The way he backtracked.
Like, I don't know why he doesn't have a PR team that's telling him, this line of reasoning that you're using is obviously false. It obviously doesn't make sense. And Tucker's going to call you out for it, just like he did. My favorite part, I think, during that clip, Tucker called him out, which is great. But even before that, as Ted is like telling his little story, Tucker, like, his face is so good. He's just like very confused, and he's like, what's going on here? Like, why is he saying this? This makes no sense. And that's exactly what he says to Cruz, is what you just said still makes no sense. And so I think, obviously there's a clear reason why Cruz would try to backtrack, is because he's getting slammed and he's going to lose support from the right side of the aisle. But the way that he went about it made no sense at all.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me that he would go and say something like that, especially in the era of where different senators and congressmen are going to get canceled. Like, I know Lindsey Graham has really been brandished as a rhino, and I think it's kind of dangerous territory. But what do you think, Josh?
So I totally understand why he tried to backtrack, and kudos to Cruz for at least saying, "Hey, I was wrong." The problem is that he is immediately after he said, "I was wrong," he said something else that was wrong. He said, "Oh, Tucker, look, I did not mean it the way it has been interpreted. I did not mean to say this. I was using a term that I have always used for people who have attacked police officers. I've always called people who attack police officers terrorists. I wasn't talking about everybody at the mall that day. I was talking about the very few people there who attack police officers. As far as I know, no one has been charged with attacking a police officer so far, but Cruz didn't mention that. The problem is that people who attack police officers aren't usually terrorists. Drug dealers who attack police officers, they're very bad people. They're scumbags. They're dirtbags. They're not terrorists. You need essentially three elements for something to be terrorism or for you to be a terrorist. First off, the target needs to be a civilian target. All right? Police definitionally aren't civilians. Second, the target needs to seem to have been picked randomly. It doesn't need to be a target that people would think, "Oh, that's ripe for terrorism." It needs to be almost a random feeling target. And the reason for that is the third thing you need for terrorism. The point behind it is to inspire fear in everyday people's lives. The feeling that, "Oh my gosh, that could have been me. I could have been in the World Trade Center that day. I could have been on that bridge. I could have been in this mall," whatever the case may be. So Ted Cruz coming back and saying, look, I just was saying terrorist because I call people who attack police terrorists. It's like Ted Cruz saying,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to. I always lie about terrorism.
Yeah.
I always lie about it. I always call people terrorists who are not actually terrorists. It's such a boneheaded response. Ted, thank you for being on. I think you were honest about it, but the honesty also had sort of a boneheaded backing to it or foundation to
and
it.
it's just, it goes back to just the redefining of words, which is like kind of what we've seen time and time again. I mean, like throughout 2016, we saw the word Nazi pop back up and everyone was talking about, oh, Trump's a Nazi, Trump's that. And Nazi used to be someone who hated Jewish people and was a supporter of Hitler or worked under Hitler.
And socialists.
And,
Remember, socialist.
And now
National
it's just
socialist.
And now that's oh, you're a Nazi if you're conservative, you're this, you're that. And then yesterday we saw the exact same thing with Kamala Harris, who called January 6th like basically the equivalent of Pearl Harbor and 9/11. And so it's just like this huge mischaracterization of so many things at this point.